Jason Chaffetz, Fox News contributor and former Republican congressman of Utah. Look, nobody relishes making fun of the people who literally, they have one job, and that's to keep us safe. But she couldn't even deliver that message. I mean, I accuse her of word salad all the time. Grab the green goddess dressing.
Yeah, you want heartfelt compassion. I give the vice president credit for showing up and being there, and no doubt it's tough. But when you're representing the entire country, no matter your political party, you expect heartfelt compassion, not these word salads. She's almost incoherent. And the problem, I think, Harris, is how consistent it is. You can take most of the events that she goes to, and we end up running these clips. I mean, people in the public spotlight, they make mistakes. They misspeak. You do it. I do it.
We all do it.
You don't do it, but I do it. And yeah, and I mean, it'll happen, especially in the heat of the moment. But she has this incoherent consistency that she gets stuck on a word, and she just repeats it. And and one time I heard somebody say, it's almost as if the kid who didn't prepare properly for their homework and didn't do their homework assignment suddenly shows up and just keeps repeating the same thing. It's getting to the point of serious embarrassment.
What do you need to prepare for to go tell somebody that you love them and you understand their pain, and while you can't alleviate it, you're right there in the moment with them? Like, how hard is that?
It's just your ability to speak compassionately from your heart. It's not the quantity of words. It's people understand it. It radiates from you. You just understood it. I think George W. Bush, for instance, just had this in spades. He wasn't the most eloquent speaker we ever heard, but you knew when he did it, he was speaking from his heart, and people were just like, wow, he really does mean this.
All right, we'll move to this. Multiple reports now of chaos and frustration within the Biden White House and with those outside who are dealing with the Biden White House. CNN is reporting Democrats are fed up with it. One anonymous Democrat in Congress tells the outlet that the White House is, quote, rudderless, aimless, and hopeless. Other news outlets are reporting the same. Headlines read, quote, Dems wonder if Biden can rise to the moment. And after a string of Supreme Court setbacks, Democrats wonder whether the Biden White House is capable of urgency that the moment demands. And a new op-ed titled Biden's Presidency Looks Out of Control, but could it get worse? The hashtag Impeach Joe Biden began trending on social media over the July 4th weekend after this comment from former senior Obama advisor David Axelrod.
There is this sense that things are kind of out of control and he's not in command. No one president could control inflation, but it is it's a gale force wind right now. It's affecting politics.
Insult to injury for Biden. A new Monmouth poll shows President Biden's job approval is at another new recent low of 36%. Disapproval at an all-time high, 58%. And that's really a conglomerate of everybody, right? I mean, that's people from different parties, independents, so on and so forth, to get a number like that. Jason, what's your take on David Axelrod, though? I mean, he's got kind of an influential voice in the party.
Yeah, and I think he's speaking the obvious. Sometimes it takes the clarity of the obvious to go out there. Look, 88 in that same poll, 88% of the country thought we were on the wrong track. You have Harris and Biden, who are, again, not good at articulating a strategy. I don't know that there is a strategy. I think Joe Biden actually implemented exactly what he wanted, and it's just in disbelief that we're off the rails here. I think America got what he said he was going to do. He said he was going to dismantle the energy sector. And so when all of a sudden we start to do that and the results add into this inflation, you just don't want a leader who says Putin, Putin, Putin. I mean, why do we need Joe Biden if he thinks that Putin is making all the controls and it's Putin's price hike and Putin's this? Why do we need Joe Biden? I think the big story, Harris, will be who are the puppeteers that are behind him. I think the puppeteers are Jill Biden. I think it's Ron Klain. I think it's Susan Rice, who doesn't get enough attention for the lever she's pulling behind.
She's not a politician. She can't be running the country.
She's whispering to Joe. We had video just over the weekend of whispering, telling the president to say to say something. We have the Easter Bunny pulling the president to go in another direction.
Also
and
true.
we got Brian Deese telling us what our economic policy is, that really we're having this new world order. So I think those are the puppeteers.
Wow. Well, you broke it down. Let's get to this. The Hunter Biden headache. And we had that picture of the president kind of with his hand on his head. Just the timing of it all doesn't have anything to do with this. But that headache with Hunter Biden is certainly turning into a migraine. This time, a leaked voicemail President Biden apparently left Hunter is stirring the pot. The 2018 message is reportedly about Hunter Biden's overseas business dealings, something the president has repeatedly denied discussing with his son. The White House yesterday deflected questions on that voicemail.
Why is there a voicemail of the president talking to his son about his overseas business dealings if the president has said he's never spoken to his son about his overseas business dealings?
What the president said stands.
And he says, I think you're clear. How is that not him talking to his son about his overseas business dealings?
We're not, from this podium, I am not going to talk about alleged materials from the laptop.
Jason.
What a weak answer that is. She's in a tough spot. But look, not only do we have the voicemail, we have photos of Joe Biden and Hunter Biden with Hunter Biden's business partners. We have photos of Hunter Biden and Joe Biden with Hunter Biden's business partners at the residence of the vice president. You have the vice president on Air Force Two taking Hunter Biden and Hunter Biden's business partner on trip to Mexico. You have Hunter Biden trying to do business deals in China, Russia, Mexico, Ukraine, the UAE, Qatar, Romania. I mean, we have a treasure trove of things. This is just add this to the list of evidence.
Subscribe to the Fox News YouTube channel to catch our nightly opens, stories that are changing the world and changing your life. From Tucker Carlson tonight.